Hey everybody, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Corbin.
And I'm Dr. Madrano.
And today we're going to talk about our childhood and upbringing.
We're going before we were physicians, before we were in college, and we hope that we can kind of give some context to our journeys from where we grew up and ultimately to becoming physicians. So, Michael, where did you grow up? And tell us about the people you grew up with.
Yeah, so I grew up around 45 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. And at home was my mom, my dad, and my sister. All right, Damien, tell us about where you grew up and who was at home with you.
So I grew up on the other side of the country, sunny California, in a small town called San Gabriel within LA County. I grew up with my mom, single-parent household, only child, so no siblings. So Michael, why don't you share with us a little bit about your experience in school, some of the things you like to do?
Yeah, so I'll kind of walk you through kind of how it was at each level. So at elementary school, I was definitely kind of your typical elementary school kid that liked to play outside and go to recess more than, sit in the classroom. But that's where it kind of developed a little bit of what I liked in academia. I trended towards more the science and mathematics, and not so much towards the English and writing, reading subject matters. Then in middle school was really kind of where that continued to compound, where I was more interested in science and math, and played sports. So I was on the football team, and this is where a lot of the friendships started to flourish. Some of my friends I grew up with from elementary school carried on to my middle school and even into my high school. And one really great friend, we were college roommates all 4 years, and I've known him since kindergarten. In high school, continued with sports, played football and ran cross country. And again, it just kind of compounded more towards science and math, innovative type things, and less as a focus in like the histories and the Englishes. Okay, Damien, tell us a little bit about your childhood from elementary all the way up to high school.
Yeah, so I went to a Catholic elementary school, and similar to you, did really well in the sciences, was on the honor roll pretty consistently, always had struggles with English and didn't like the writing assignments and struggled with those essay assignments. But my mom basically was always on top of me getting my homework done, and I think that work ethic she instilled in me pretty well. And that transitioned pretty well to high school as well. As far as other interesting things, I think not a lot of people may expect this because I'm an introvert, but I actually got in trouble a lot in elementary school, talking a lot. Like I said, only child, so I was constantly trying to have little side conversations in class, and had to get taken out of class sometimes, detentions, a few parent-teacher conferences. We all got into a little bit of trouble, I think, when we were young, but definitely because I didn't have a lot of people to talk to at home. I was just talking to people in school like all the time, and that transitioned out into high school. I got my act together in high school. I was always very involved like you. Mm-hmm. Sports was huge in my life. Baseball mainly, pretty much from age 5 all the way to 23, 24. As well as basketball and football. I wouldn't say I was very good. I think I made the All-Stars team twice and was kind of struggling in high school for a starting position. But it was always something important to me, and still remains important to me, and taught me a lot about work ethic, having to really dedicate yourself to practicing frequently to get good at something. And was in Cub Scouts, also served as an altar boy. So my mom always had me involved in these other things to make sure I was a multi-dimensional kind of person, good in school, but also involved in the community. Michael, what advice do you have for someone who is kind of early in their childhood and they're thinking about how do they become a doctor?
That's a great question. I think if you're under like the college age, still kind of going through middle school and high school, man, it's a great time to be open to a lot of different things. When it comes to lining yourself up for medicine, I think at that age, it's really challenging to do if you don't have someone who's done it, and it's not necessarily that important. I think what's more important is you develop early on the work ethic and the discipline and the commitment to bettering yourself and others around you, and that's going to really carry you through. For example, if you're in middle school getting involved in sports, it's going to teach you discipline, right? Hopefully your coaches will instill that you need to still make good grades to be able to play on the sports team. In high school, if you're involved with extracurriculars like clubs, leadership positions, you're going to start to look at your classmates as colleagues and form a base for how you're going to be as an adult. So I think that those are really kind of important pieces as you're moving forward, rather than focusing too heavily on, I have to take this class as a 7th grader to be a physician, because there's going to be a time where that is important, maybe in the back half of high school, but if you're still kind of young, it's more important that you develop the principles, kind of the building blocks for being successful.
Yeah, sports, 100% agree with that. Some of us are not as naturally gifted, right? And so we have to really put in the work, sacrifice in order to get good results. And even when you're doing the right things, getting a good routine, you may not always get the results that you want. So sports, I think, great lesson in work ethic, but also expectations and how you're not going to get everything that you want all the time in sports. There's a lot of disappointment, definitely in baseball, with trying to have a good batting average. It's very difficult. So we see some of those elements in medicine, because you do have to sacrifice a lot to be a physician in terms of the financial resources, the personal time, just the energy that it takes to day in and day out give it your best, caring for patients. So I like that you really highlighted that. And for me personally, being the first doctor in my family, I didn't have anyone who gave me the blueprint. And while I always thought being a doctor was a potential career choice for me in high school, and even a little bit in middle school, most of that had to do with my mom basically telling me that whatever possibilities there are, that I can attain them, that if I wanted to be a lawyer, a doctor, or whatever, that I'd be able to do it. And I think she recognized the success that I had in the sciences, and so that was sort of something that I heard a lot, but didn't necessarily feel like pressure to do it. For me personally, I actually wanted to be an athlete, as I'm sure some of you watching this video may aspire to be, but the doctor thing really tied in later, and it's okay to not really commit to it until later. We're just saying, lay the foundation of having good work ethic, and discipline, and a good routine, and those elements are going to carry over into the next stages in your academic career.
And definitely stay tuned to some of our next videos where we give you a little bit of the ins and outs of how competitive it can be in medicine, and how early people do start. And I think that'll be a pretty eye-opening experience and a juxtaposition to what we're saying here. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching that video. If you found it valuable, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.
We're definitely going to closely look at those comments for any feedback. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Built for Medicine, and feel free to email us at builtformedicine@gmail.com.